Hi guys, this is Matt Hassen. I just played in a tournament in Las Vegas called the North American Open, I think. It was run by Bill Goichberg and his outfit. Anyway, I had some good results there, and I earned my National Master title from the USCF. It looks like I may have gotten the FIDE Master title too. So I thought I'd just make a little series of videos to talk about my games and how the tournament went. First of all, a lot of people have asked me how I keep improving. Uh, Some of you may know I'm a full-time law student in my second year at the University of Kentucky, and this obviously occupies the bulk of my time. But the key is really consistent daily training. You just have to find an hour or two a day to work on your chess. And if you keep working hard at it, well, then good things will eventually happen. Maybe it means you study some recent games instead of watching TV or doing something else that's just not as high a priority for you. So that's just my general advice. Now, I played this tournament over Christmas break. It meant flying out to Las Vegas on Christmas Day, the first round being the 26th. I was playing the under 2300 section, so I was basically near the middle of the pairings, and I could have been paired up or down the first round. I wasn't really sure. I ended up paired down against Thomas Schneider from Wisconsin. He had a 2000 rating. Now, immediately when I saw him at the board, I got a little nervous because I was dealing with a junior player. He's like 14 or 15 years old, and you never know how strong these kids really are because they improve so fast. So you just have to give them some respect and be careful so you don't get embarrassed losing the first round to a kid. The other factor is it's not really fair with having a tournament in Vegas because junior players are maybe not subject to the same distractions as a 25-year-old. But I managed to play, I think, a decent game. So let's have a look. First, maybe I should say something about my setup here. I have two databases open. One shows white players who are above 2,500, and one is the same database but limited to the most recent 5 years. And basically, I limit it to 2,500 players because they're professionals and they're the ones who have the time to study what the best moves are, and I trust that they know the best moves better than I do because I certainly don't have the time to research it. So I started out the game with d4, which is what I always play, and d5, c4, c6, so he's a Slav player apparently. So I played this move, queen c2. Um, in this position, obviously most popular is knight c3. I've also played the e3 move before. I like to play queen c2 against a lower rated player because it's a good transpositional device. Um, you can end up like we did in this game with a closed Catalan. The best move, you see the main move, is to take this pawn, and then we transpose into Queen's Gambit accepted. Uh, I can just show that real quick, I guess. If they take this pawn, uh, and we go like this, then we can have this same position if they play c6 here. So we just transposed into, you see it's a popular position from the Queen's Gambit accepted too. But someone who plays the Slav maybe doesn't know the Queen's Gambit accepted line, so they don't play it a lot. The second most popular move, g6, is not a move that a Slav player is going to play very often either. So, the best moves get them into positions that they're probably not so used to. After e6, I can just transpose into a closed Catalan, which I did after g3, bishop g2 castles, and here we have a mainline position. And right away, he played queen c7, which I don't like at all, because, well, for one thing, my bishop's going to be able to develop to f4 with tempo at some point, and um, it's just not clear that that's where the queen should be. A lot of times in these closed variations of the Catalan, the queen goes to c8 instead, like after bishop b7 and queen c8, just so that there isn't this bishop f4 with tempo type of a thing. So, I don't know, I just didn't like the move because he should just be developing his light bishop. I guess maybe he was trying to prepare c5, but, you know, I just play e4 now, and what's he doing? And then he starts to develop his bishop. And now, I like this move, the rook e1, because, see, his bishop is unprotected now that he moved the queen, so there could be some tactics on the e-file. And another thing is, I now have the f1 square for my knight. So, like, if he doesn't take this, I have the option of playing e5 and then playing like a King's Indian attack type of a thing, because I can play e5 and I can play h4, and then I can bring my knight around. Well, okay, he played that, but let's say he does this move. Now I could push and maybe not take, but basically the idea is we have the h4 and then rerouting this knight f1, h2, g4. We also have rerouting the bishop to this diagonal, just to try and attack him in the King's Indian attack type of a style. So the rook e1 move is kind of multi-purpose, but he took the pawn, and we take and take, and then knight f6. I didn't like this move either, because see, when the knight's here, his two pawn breaks in this position are e5 and c5. And from d7, the knight supports both of those pawn breaks. But after his one move threat of taking my queen, which I saw, he's misplaced his knight from helping with his pawn breaks. So I didn't let him take my queen, and I moved it back to c2. Then he developed his bishop, and now we see I developed my bishop with tempo. And now we just exchange, and I play this c5 move. Now, this is like standard idea in the closed Catalan, is that we fix this weak pawn on c6, which blocks in his bishop, and we're also going to get this d6 square for something like a knight. We could go this way, we could go this way, we could go this way. We want to stick a piece there, so it could be nice for us. In the meantime, he has a weakness, he has a piece that's bad, so black is just passive. Now, on the other hand, we do give up the d5 square. He has a nice knight outpost there, but a knight on d5 in this position isn't really going anywhere. I mean, he's not attacking anything on d5, and he doesn't have anything else to really support actions with the knight there, so it's not really a big deal to give up that square. I just gained some space. I guess he wanted to prevent, whoops, he wanted to prevent my knight from doing this little maneuver, but whatever. I thought it was strange he went to d7, because, I mean, it's sort of obvious you'd want to put your knight here because it's a better square. It's more active than on d7. On d5, you know, you're attacking this pawn. So I thought it was strange he went back there. But again, you see, to protect the e5 and c5 squares, the knight belongs on d7. So it was silly to go knight f6 back here, because he just, I mean, if he goes bishop b7 in this position, so he goes there, I'm gonna have to move my queen anyway, because I'm not gonna want it. Well, okay, maybe I move the knight because the pawn is pinned, but whatever. I mean, at least his knight isn't misplaced, and as we see in the game, he went back there anyway. And now this knight e5 move, I really like this move. And actually, I think if I turn on the computer, it thinks back here. It thinks knight e5 is clearly the best move. You're basically up a pawn after knight e5, and I actually saw this idea in a Grishchuk game. I guess I can show you that. You see, Grishchuk 2715 rating, and he's playing this 2240 rated guy. And a lot of the conventional wisdom says you should study these games between two equally matched players because those will be the best hard-fought games. But you really learn a lot looking at the mismatches too, because you see what someone of the 2240 strength didn't understand that a 2700 player could use to win the game. So you learn a lot of strategic ideas that, you know, players don't understand, and then if you can use them to win your own games, well, that's a good thing. So just going through it really quick, we had this closed Catalan position, and here we see the standard c5 move again. And his knight on e5. This is something too, which is interesting, this attacking idea. He has this idea of lifting the rook around to f3 to attack the f7 pawn. I thought that's a pretty creative idea in the position. And here we have it. He's not concerned about black taking this knight because here white just has a clear advantage because white has this amazing outpost on d6, and black cannot use the corresponding d5 outpost because white can always kick a major piece out of there with his light square bishop because it controls light squares, and black does not have a bishop to kick something out of the d6 square. So when white sticks something on d6, black can basically never exchange it off because then white will take back and get a nice protected passed pawn that'll be devastating in the ending. So there we see it was kicked away by Grishchuk, and he just uses this d6 square to infiltrate on the queen side. And another interesting thing here is he played the bishop back to c2, provoking the g6 move, which becomes important because now it allows, in the endgame, the king to infiltrate on the dark squares. And I guess that's what strong players do. So now we see he wins a pawn, and then, I mean, it's just over. And black resigned here, I think because, well, like I said, the white king, like, let's say he tries to stop us from coming in, we could push the pawn and then force his bishop back and bring our bishop in, and now he has no moves but with the king, and then our king can come into f6, and again he has no moves but with the king, and I think we can just take this pawn. And you know, he can't move the king, so if he moves the bishop, you know, we're just going to push this pawn because he has no other moves. And as soon as this happens, he's in big trouble. Now, he could try, you know, to stalemate us in the corner, but we have another passed pawn. So, he's in big trouble here. And one of these pawns will queen. So, I used these two ideas in my own game. The idea of this c5 move, and the idea of just letting him exchange the knight in order to get this d6 outpost. and we see it here. He exchanges the knight, and now I have the d6 outpost. So now, yeah, I thought here he was gonna play queen d7 because now I can't contest the file, but actually I can because eventually I can just play bishop f3 and then put a rook over and I'll get the file. I'll get my outpost. So that was my plan if he did that, but I thought that's what he had to do. But instead he played rook d7 and you know the good thing about the queen c3 move is I protected my pawn because like if I just play my rook over immediately and he takes it, my pawn is hanging. But actually, this is good for me. I looked at it a little bit with the computer, and the good thing about this is I have this b5 move, and this comes up a lot. That's just winning. So I could have done that too, but queen c3 I thought was reasonable, safe choice. And then there we have it. I just stick a piece on d6, and what's he gonna do? He can't exchange it off because then I get a nice passed pawn and I'm gonna win easy. So he just lashes out, but obviously this isn't gonna work. And now he has two weaknesses, c6 and e6, and this is not good to have around your king. So yeah, I was threatening to take with check and then take the rook, so he had to exchange. And now he just blundered a pawn because the pawn's pinned against his king. He can't take my bishop back. And then it's just a matter of not giving him counterplay. I just want to trade everything off, and here I could take the pawn, of course. But I didn't want to give him checks. So, I mean, I could just play here and I'm winning. It's so winning, I have so many moves. But I saw I could trade queens, and then he resigned here. Because, he can't stop me from getting a queen. If he blocks the pawn, I can just push. And what's he gonna do, And I get a queen. So, I won my first game against a young player who did actually pretty well in the tournament. He gained 40 points, and he didn't play his last two games. I'm not sure he withdrew. I'm not sure if he was sick or what happened, but gaining 40 points in a tournament's pretty good. So he had a good tournament. I had a good tournament. It's a good first game, I think, and I'll just keep making some more videos in my rounds, and you can see what happened.